Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about our weekly parasha, Parashat Vayera. You will see a short idea about the parasha. The parasha talking about many things. The three angels that came to visit Abraham and many other interesting things. The argument that Abraham had with God, about Sarah having a baby, and towards the end of the parasha, we have the famous story of Akeydat Yitzchak, the sacrificing of Yitzchak, the son of Abraham. We know that the Akedah, the trip that Abraham made to the mountain, this mountain, as we know from our tradition, father to son since Abraham, this is the mountain of Yerushalayim. And the story goes that one day Yitzchak was 37 years old, Abraham was 137 years old. God telling Abraham, please take your son and go to the mountain to sacrifice him to me. Abraham was the same guy that God told him that Yitzchak will be his heir. Yitzchak was not married yet, didn't have children. And Abraham did not ask any questions, and he woke early in the morning, went with Yitzchak, with the knife, with the wood, to build the altar and to sacrifice Yitzchak. After days of walking, they came there, they building the altar, putting Yitzchak on the altar, taking the knife, and then the angel telling Abraham that he doesn't need to sacrifice because you see, his heart is full and he is fully dedicated to God. The story is one of the most important milestones in Jewish history, in Jewish belief, and also in Jewish prayers. We reminding the story in our prayers every day and in special times, many times. Meaning, if, for example, in Rosh Hashanah, this is one of the strong themes on the prayer. The story of Abraham. The merit of Abraham is by the story of the sacrifice of Yitzchak. And it's very famous question, what is so special about this story? No one's saying it's not special. But what is it so special? Since the story of Abraham, it happened thousands of times that people sacrifice themselves and their families to God. In the story, throughout our history, people died in so many ways. In the Inquisition, in the time of 800 years ago, by all villages killed themselves to not be killed by non-Jews, or in the concern of being convinced to become non-Jews, they killed themselves before. We know the famous story of Hannah and the 7 kids that we sang in Hanukkah, that she sacrificed 7 kids that they didn't want to bow to an idol, and in the end she told God, Abraham sacrificed 1 kid and I was sacrificing 7. And we're not talking about the obvious difference that Yitzchak stayed alive in the end. Many hundreds of people and thousands of people had this story. One of the answers, of course, is Abraham. It's more strong because he sacrificed his kid. It's much more hard, of course, to sacrifice your kid than to sacrifice yourself. But as we see in the story of Hannah, we had also those things. Another answer would be how quick was Abraham. He was quick. He woke early in the morning, went to the mountain. But those are small answers. The question is bigger. And there is famous answer of Chassidut. The answer of Chassidut is that Abraham was the first one. It's true that Abraham did something big, and Abraham also heard it from God himself. All the rest of the people, God himself did not ask him. Abraham was the only one that God specifically told him to do it. Of course he would do it. And of course he would wake up early in the morning. But what was special about Abraham, that he was the first one. And we know that to be the first is the strongest and the hardest thing, every time. To be the first one is the most hard part. Why? Because the first one, he never saw something like that before. The first one was, he had it inside him truly. But if you want to understand it deeper a bit, we need to understand another thing. Outside the Jewish nation, there is many other people that sacrifice themselves for a higher ideal. And until our times, where, for example, when there was the revolution in many countries, so how started the protest and everything? By people putting themselves in the fire. Oh, people dying for their ideals. What is so special about Jewish nation that they willing to do anything to be about the religion? It's not so special about Jewish people. Many other people doing things for their belief. Even not in the belief of God, in the opposite belief. We know the story of Galileo Galilei. I don't know how accurate the details, but it's famous that he died by the church because he had ideal, he had a belief. So what is so special about Jewish nation that they're willing to die for their belief? It's not so special, maybe. And this is the same question, what is so special about being the first one? So, for a person to die for his belief, what does that mean? Why would a person die for his belief, for his ideal? Because there is two ideals in life, in this person. This person has the ideal to be alive, and he have other ideals. If a person have his job, have his family, this is all ideals that he put inside his ideal of life, of living, of staying alive. Sometimes a person becoming dedicated to one ideal and its empowering is more strong than the ideal of life. So we're basically replacing ideal in other ideal. He's feeling now in this moment that the ideal of proving this point is more strong than the ideal of life. So he replacing ideal and ideal. He's basically doing for himself. The same person that would want to stay alive, he is the same person that want to not be alive and to prove this point. It's all about himself. And it's good. And it's very high level of dedication to one ideal. To have Kiddush Hashem, to die on Kiddush Hashem, to die on dedication to God, the Jewish power is not about replacing ideas. It's about dedication of truth, meaning that I am not gaining nothing from this dying, this sacrifice. People that replacing ideal in ideal means that they want to prove a point that people will stop suffering in their country, or something like that. So they're willing to die for this ideal, as long as they believe that this act of dying will do something good. But it's not about total dedication. Jewish people have the power to die only because we are one with God. I am not gaining nothing from this. And the world will not gain nothing from this. Basically, I need to live. I need to prove my Judaism, to do more mitzvot. But I cannot be disconnected from God and to worship other idols. So if I have a choice to die or to stay alive, I will die. What the world will gain, which ideal you promoting by dying? Nothing. It's just the connection that I have with God. So Abraham took his son to the mountain. Abraham was one of the most famous people in the world. First of all, he was rich. Second of all, he was the father of monotheism. He believed in one God, and he was famously believed in one God. He was in the biggest war there between the 5 against 4 kings, and he was in the winner's side. He was rich. He was a teacher. He wrote books. He was famous. And everybody knew that he had a son in the age of 100. It was a miracle. And everybody knew why. Because he will be the heir. And then one day, he's waking up early in the morning, taking his son, this heir, to be sacrificed to God. Which ideal Abraham would promote with this act? Nothing. Total disproving all his point. So this is the true power that Abraham revealed as the first Jew. He revealed the dedication that we will do anything. It doesn't matter if we gaining something for that, if God gaining something from that, we do it. Why? Because we are one with God. And dedication is unlimited. When we understand this power, we understand that it doesn't have to be, fortunately, we're living in a time that we don't need to die in the name of God. Our mission is exactly the opposite, to live in the name of God. To show this dedication in life, not in death. And it's more hard. To die, it's one-time thing. To live with this feeling that we will do anything. We will gain, we will not gain, we will lose everything. But we are one with God, and we will do anything to be connected with God. This is the power that Abraham believed, and this power is there inside every Jew, waiting to be awakened. And we can awake this feeling that we have in our heart and in our soul. And this is what we can learn from this story. And this is what was special about Abraham. This is why we every day reminding ourselves about this story. Shabbat Shalom.